Hi everybody, I'm Dee.
And I'm Jay, and we are Para DJ. Welcome to our official wrap-up video for AmaCerto, our first ever river cruise.
Yeah, we've got a lot to go through, so buckle up. We're going to answer all those questions that we've been getting for all the videos and in our Facebook group as well.
That's true. Now, I've got my notes here, of course, because why would I not? We are planning to talk about things like embarkation, debarkation, food and drink, entertainment, cabins, excursions. How much did we pay for the cruise? Would we do the cruise again?
All of that good stuff.
All the good stuff. So here we go. Categories.
Yeah.
We'll try to keep it brief, but you know I love to run my mouth. Let's start off with embarkation. It's at the beginning of your experience.
Yeah.
Why not? Now, the thing that surprised me the most was how easy it was to get on board the river cruise.
Same, yeah.
There were no x-ray machines. There wasn't like security. I mean, they scanned your card to get you on the ship once you had a card, but you basically walked on board and said, here's my name. They looked you up on a list and you were good.
That was it.
No suitcase scans. Now don't y'all be trying to sneak stuff on, you know what I mean? But it was so easy.
So, the least stressful I've ever had of any embarkation day, for sure, yes.
Yeah, and sometimes we mentioned in the video too, the ships can be stacked multiple deep, so you might have to walk through one or two other ships to get to your ship.
Which is interesting.
We lucked out on embarkation day that we were the first in line, but on debarkation day we were second in line, so we had to walk through another ship. The arrival times, so they, at least for our itinerary and for most itineraries, they list the port arrival time as 3 o'clock. You don't really sign up for a boarding time.
Right.
They basically say, hey, come at 3. If you come early, you can drop your bags and explore the city. Or if it's around lunchtime, just hang out in the lounge and have lunch, and that's what we did.
Yeah, but the rooms will not be ready until that specific time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing you can do on embarkation day is to pick your excursions. I would recommend downloading their app. You're allowed to pick your excursions 45 days ahead of the sail date, which is what we did. Like literally the day they became available, click, click. I was on there.
Well, we weren't sure how that goes, and you know, with less people, less spots, you know, but if there's something you're really looking forward to, I recommend booking it in advance.
Yeah, because a few of them were capacity controlled. The food, well, we didn't get to do it properly, but the food tour and the beer tour in Antwerp and then the chocolate tour in Brussels, right? Those were like super capacity controlled.
Yeah. I would say anything food or drink related is probably going to sell out quickly.
Yeah, but we did find that other than those capacity controlled ones, you had a lot of flexibility on board to change your excursions. Like almost even the day of, you could, like depending on the weather.
Right.
Especially the bike tours. The bike tours got diverted by rain. Like people started out really bike enthusiastic.
Gung-ho.
That enthusiasm wore off with every raindrop that came down from the sky.
I know.
But they really were good about letting those people change
Which is
excursions. Nice. And that's the end of my embarkation category.
Yeah.
One category down. Let's keep rolling. Okay. What's next? Food and drink.
Of course.
Near and dear to my heart. Now the food options were as such. You've got the bistro, which is the restaurant, the little counter really, located in the lounge.
Yep.
Available for breakfast and lunch. No dinner. No dinner at the bistro.
No, so they do
not on ours.
Kind of like a makeshift buffet setup for breakfast and lunch, but then they also, for lunch at least, have items you can order off of a menu and they'll bring them to you in the lounge. Like hamburger, cheeseburger, pizza. The day we embarked, it was like pasta.
Oh,
and, some
little
sort of
sandwiches.
Sandwich, and then they also do tea time as well in the bistro, which we never did because we were off the ship.
Huh. So. Yeah, we'll talk about how active your days are.
Yeah.
And I wanted to point out that the bistro was the only option that was open for embarkation day lunch. So when you got on that first day, if you stayed on for lunch, it was bistro. And then the restaurant came open for dinner.
Ooh, tip. Get the potato wedges at lunch. They're much better at the bistro than they would be in the dining room.
Yeah, we
Just
heard.
Trust us.
We heard about those
it's
super secret potato wedges. Speaking of, the dining room is the other option. That is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There is no assigned seating. Excuse me, in the dining room. I get choked up about assigned seating. So it's just go in, pick a table that you like, make some friends, whatever. So. And then there is chef's table, which is that cute little room in the back of the ship that overlooks off the back all the views, and it's included. Yeah,
it's very pretty. You just pick a time, what's ever available when you embark is probably the best time to do that, and included. Really good too. You couldn't book chef's table time ahead of the sailing that I'm aware of, but you could just basically, first couple of days, make sure you get a spot that you like. It's worth it. Yeah, some of the questions, because we did poll our Shenanigans Squad Facebook group for questions specifically, and here's some of the things that they asked. Can you get a table for 2?
I did not see any. The smallest tables I saw anywhere on the ship were 4.
Right. I guess if the ship's not sold out, yeah, possibly if nobody sits down with you, but no, not in general.
You would have to remove the other chairs from the table yourself and discourage people from sitting with you.
Don't be that person.
No, but we saw 4 tops, 6 tops, 8, 10. I mean, they had these giant round tables, but yeah, 4 was the smallest I saw.
Yes.
How well can they handle dietary restrictions? Now, for this, I have pulled a sentence from Frequently Asked Questions on their website.
Yes.
Though we can provide options to accommodate food allergies and sensitivities, we cannot guarantee that there will not be any cross-contamination. And, fun fact, they cannot accommodate kosher at all.
Right, because you need a separate kitchen for that.
Kinda.
It's a small galley, I'm sure. We didn't get to see it, but yeah, they don't have separate galleys.
Yeah, so they can try, but I guess the answer is they cannot guarantee, like if you have severe gluten or severe, something like that, they can't guarantee that you're not going to have an issue.
I'd say like vegan, vegetarian, probably no issues there, but like, gluten I would say is probably a big one. But like if you have allergy to a specific item, like, a vegetable, they can leave that out. I'm
peanuts
sure.
Or so, stuff like that, or like shrimp, those might be, I don't know. But interesting.
Make sure you tell them, or your travel agent, or whoever you book with, and they'll note it on the booking.
Somebody wanted to know, is there room service available? Now, I did not see room service advertised.
No.
But we do know of people that had food delivered to their cabins. Right. So apparently...
Yeah, I think it's not something they're going to tell you, but they do make accommodations, and I don't believe there's any sort of fee associated with that because they want everybody to be able to eat dinner.
That's true. Cost of drinks. Now, I do have a section coming up later called What's Included, where we talk about when you can get free drinks.
Right.
But in general, I don't think, I did a very quick pan down of a menu, but I don't think the cost of the drinks was that bad because you did at one point order, what, an Aperol Spritz?
Aperol Spritz. I want to say it was like 7 or 8 euros tops, but like they're definitely less expensive than your mainstream cruise line drinks that are generally like $11 to $14 a drink. So it's not that expensive.
Somebody wanted to know, commenting on the food variety and choices, I guess probably with the dinner menus and things like that. There was enough variety for me. We're relatively non-picky, adventurous eaters. And they did bring a few local type dishes on there. Not as many as I probably would have liked on this sailing, but they did show up on the menu. And I appreciated those. Schnitzels, stews.
I think they had an everyday menu as well that didn't really change. And that had like a steak or a chicken or a fish. For people who might be a little more picky, not as adventurous, they do have those options. So I feel like there was something for everybody. And then at lunch you could get a cheeseburger, pizza, things like that.
So they have normal food as well as the weird food that I like to eat sometimes.
Yeah, the locals food.
Another one that we got a couple of times is, can you bring food back on from port? Like if you didn't want to eat in the dining room and you wanted to bring something back on for your dinner. I
don't see why not. I didn't see anybody doing this, but there's literally no one checking anything other than your card when you come back. So there was no sign stating otherwise. I'm sure you can. Yeah,
they're not checking your bags. They're not scanning anything. One of the other interesting things is apparently you are allowed to bring alcohol back onto the ship from any port you choose and have it.
They do entire wine cruises, and you can go off and purchase wine and bring it back on and drink it in your room. And I don't know of any sort of corkage fee in the dining room or anything like that. So pretty cool.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Whoops, I put a sentence here that actually belongs later in the episode. So I'll have to remember. Come back to page 1. Let's jump to another category. Let's talk about entertainment. Now, this is one where we actually don't have a lot to talk about. River cruising is a whole different world.
It really is.
Than ocean cruising. So on our sailing, we had Romeo, the onboard DJ and piano man. He played pretty much every night. Now, the enthusiasm for the disco dance parties was high at the beginning of the cruise, and it did wane over the course of the cruise.
Yeah.
We did have 2 special acts that got to come on, which was the guitar player, and
he was on The Voice, Amsterdam or something like that, or Netherlands, Yeah,
and we had Strings of the Lowlands, which beautiful,
amazing.
Because one of the questions was, did the entertainment get repetitive?
Yeah, I would
yes, it did.
say ours might have been a little bit different because we did have a big group of travel agents on there. They knew that, and they wanted to have like a more fun atmosphere, I think, because it was a lot of mixed ages. So that's probably why we had a lot more of the DJ, so we can have group dances and fun and stuff like that. And we didn't go through as many locks as you typically do, and we've heard that if there's more locks, they bring on what they call lock jumpers.
Lock hoppers or lock jumpers.
And they bring on more local entertainment. So I'm not sure on the typical you know, what the same itinerary would be. We can only show you what our experience was.
We'll just have to do more.
Yeah,
that's how that works. And that's all for entertainment, really, because there weren't a whole lot of activities in general. There were fitness classes, which we'll talk about. Those were included, but daytime activities, you're pretty much either taking a nap or doing a tour.
Or watching a movie or something.
Yeah, that kind of thing. All right, let's jump to cabins. I won't dwell on cabin types too much, but the basic gist of it is they have what they call a Category E or Category D, which are the ones on deck 1. They've got windows. They are high windows because your cabin is technically below the water line.
Right.
But you've got little windows that you can get on your tiptoes and peek out of, and those cabins are about 160 square feet. We stayed in a C category cabin, which is deck 2 or 3 aft. It's the French balcony.
Yeah.
Very fun option. It's
like
170 square feet.
Ooh.
So we got 10 more square feet. They've got a BB and a BA, which are on deck 2 and 3 mid and aft, and those actually have French balconies and regular outside balconies, 210 square feet. The AB and the AA also same locations, but they're a little bigger at 235 square feet, also have both types of balconies. The AA Plus, there's only one of those on the whole ship. It is deck 3 mid, double balconies as well, 290 square feet. And then the suite, there are 3 of those. Same location, same balcony setup, but 300 square feet.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
We only saw ours.
So you could get a cabin that was almost twice the size of ours. Anyway.
I'm sure the price is much different.
Yeah, the only other note I really had on the cabins is for folks coming from America, bring an electrical converter because you're going to have that 220, power over there and zap zap.
And they do tell you that in all of the paperwork, but definitely make sure you have that.
Yeah, this is true. All right, let's jump into excursions. Now, excursions are included, which I'm going to repeat that sentence later on. A typical daily schedule for us. You wake up, you have breakfast. You've got a tour from about 9 a.m. until noon. You get back on the ship, you eat lunch. You've got a tour from about 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. Come back on board. It's cocktail hour. Sip and sail. Free cocktails. You have dinner. Then you have your evening entertainment. You go to bed. Repeat, 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 repeat. It's intense.
But sometimes you go from one port to another in the same day.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be like that. And then some days you will only have the one port, like an afternoon kind of tour.
Yeah.
So it just depends on your itinerary.
Yeah, I think we had one day where we only had one excursion that day. And then we had one day where you could choose to do a full day excursion, but we actually chose to break it up and do the 2 half-day excursions.
Pretty cool.
Most of your tour options are walking tours, very active tours, or bike tours. But the walking tours did have different pace levels. You could be regular, gentle, active. We chose regular.
Medium.
Yeah. We were the medium folks. Medium walking.
I'm not sure what the active was like.
Running.
I didn't really see many people do those, so I don't know if you're not running.
People did gentle and people did normal, or whatever, regular they called it. Questions in relating to excursions that we got from the Facebook group. Can you stay on board the ship while it is docked?
Yeah, absolutely. We know a few people who did. They had done the same itinerary before and decided to only get off in like 1 or 2 of the ports. So that's not a problem at all.
Yeah, and we actually skipped one castle visit to take a nap one day. I think we kind of addressed that in the video. So we did actually skip an excursion.
Yeah, not a problem.
Some of the excursions seemed pretty short. Did you feel like you had enough time to see the sights?
Good question.
It is true. The further from the port that your destination was, like something like Horkham, well, the buses ran a little bit late, and we only had an hour to explore Horkham. Now, it was a good hour, in my opinion.
It was very informative.
But it was very short.
Yeah, I think if the buses hadn't gotten into traffic, we would have obviously had more time.
Maybe another half hour.
Yeah.
But it really is like an hour and a half or 2 hours peak at these at cities, and you just get back on your bus and go back to the ship in most cases. So the excursions are short.
Yeah.
But you're seeing so many places over the course of your cruise.
Exactly.
And somebody wanted to know if we talked with anybody that took a bike tour. Was it strenuous or leisurely, and was there enough time to stop for photos? Now, I didn't personally talk to any bikers.
Some of the people in my travel agency group did. It rained like a lot, as you saw in the videos. So they took them like the first day, and they were a leisurely pace. They actually got to go to the same castle that we went to, and they were able to stop along the way. But then not many people took them after that because of the weather.
Yeah, so the bike tours were real.
I feel like it just depends on the group that you're in, but they do stop and tell you about things because you would wear the earpiece as well, and I'm sure the tour guide is talking to you about what you're seeing.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the wetter it got, the bike tours kind of dried up, as it were.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right, let's move on to page 2 of the plan now. So we're into debarkation before we get into other general questions.
Yeah.
So talking about things with the debarkation or what happens just before it. Gratuities, those are typically not included. I'll get into the actual gratuity amounts later. But right before debarkation, you would settle up your gratuities. They give you a questionnaire survey to talk about your experience. And they did a little raffle.
They did.
I don't remember what the people won.
I feel like it was a bottle of champagne or wine or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't really put that in the vlog, but yeah, they drew from everybody who had turned them in on time,
nice.
which was fun. And they do offer transfers to and from the airport, which is awesome.
We took advantage of that.
We did, because it was, now somebody said there was like a train
we could
have done. I like the transfer. We took the bus transfer. You can also add land packages, sometimes before or after the cruise. Our sailing only seemed to offer pre.
Correct. Yeah.
And we didn't price that because we didn't use it, but I'm sure you could find the cost on their website. They also offer airfare, which again, we did not use. So we can't really talk pricing. We booked independent.
Well, it also depends on where you fly from.
Oh, yeah.
Airline you go on, things like that.
Yeah, people had asked if we could get into like the cost of flying there, and that is so, it depends on the class that you fly, your airline. So really, flights, I'll leave it up to you guys to do your own research as to travel to and from the destinations in Europe.
Or you can book it through them.
That's true. Yeah. Just slam it on there. But like I said, I don't know what it costs. And that's all my debarkation notes.
Debarkation for me was really not stressful either, because we signed up for a transfer. They told you a specific time to put your luggage outside your room. They load it on the bus for you. All you do is click out and you're done. You can have breakfast before. It was really, really casual and easy. I liked it. Yeah,
because normally you have to go through like a customs and immigration process. Well, that's handled at the airport,
right.
When you're flying to your next destination. So really, or whenever you land back in your home country. So yeah, the debarkation process from the ship, super easy.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous. This is where everything goes that I didn't know where else to put it. So what about dress code?
Dress code surprised me. I thought it was going to be extremely fancy, formal. You think of river cruises like that. It was really casual. And you want to dress for the weather, of course. They only had one optional fancy night, which was like the Captain's Gala, which was the last night. And some people dressed up, some people didn't. It's up to you.
I probably wore this. I mean,
I think you did. We never felt out of place in anything. People were extremely casual and just comfortable. Yeah, you can dress up if you want, but it didn't really seem to matter.
No, it really didn't. It was very much what I'm used to on the cruises we've done. I was going to say standard cruises, but this is not like an abnormal cruise.
But nobody's checking like, oh, you're wearing this, you can't come in the dining room, which is nice.
Accessibility, that is a big one. So specifically dealing with mobility and things like that. Now, I went on their website just to try to confirm what I had thought. So there is the elevator on the ship boat there, but it only goes to deck 2 and 3. It doesn't visit 1, apparently, at least on some ships, and I think ours was included. And it doesn't go up to the sun deck, like where the pool is.
Right.
They also have a statement on their website saying that the staterooms do not accommodate wheelchairs, and the gangways do not accommodate wheelchairs. So you do have to be able to move around your own stateroom without assistance, be able to climb the set of stairs, go up and down gangways. So for accessibility, it's not that friendly, I would say.
Yeah, and the buses don't have any lifts or anything to accommodate that. And then in general, Europe, with all the cobblestones and things like that, it doesn't have the same standards that like we have with the ADA here. Yeah. So I would not recommend it for somebody who's mobility challenged and relies on a wheelchair without being able to stand and go down steps and things like that on your own.
Right. Yeah, agreed. Families with children. Now, I know they do recommend a minimum age of 5 on most of their itineraries, except for in Africa, it's 12.
Because of the animals.
I guess so.
Well, you don't want like
animals
little kids grabbing lions and stuff.
That's true. And they don't really have any youth programs or anything like that. So it's really, I guess, families with children, it would be, would the children enjoy all of the adult tours?
There's nothing they do to accommodate kids other than like they can have soda at meals, stuff like that.
So not really geared for children, I would say.
We didn't have any on ours.
I think there was 0.
No kids.
But they're definitely welcome. Yeah. But they just are going to be doing all the grown-up stuff. They'll be hanging out at the sip and sail cocktail hour with you in the lounge. Just chilling.
Yeah.
There is a daily schedule, which was in the app. It was usually loaded the day before, but you could get a printed copy from the front desk, because I do like printed copies. I'll scroll through one of those, just because I know this has been very chatty with the minimal graphics. Let's scroll through a typical daily schedule while we talk about more stuff. Primary language on board is English. Which, it could be a concern for people, and the tour guides especially. All of the tours were conducted, were available at least in English.
Yes.
I think some itineraries, they probably would offer other languages based on the clientele.
Like, I've heard if they have a large group of people who speak a specific language, they will do their best to make accommodations and bring in people that speak that language too.
But you can always find English.
Yes.
Now, you had said you wanted to talk specifically about going through locks, because ours was a canal cruise, not really a river cruise, and there were a lot of locks.
Yeah, so it was a new experience for us, whereas sometimes I would be woken up in the night because you're like, you're kind of bouncing between the locks, and in a cruise ship, you're not used to hitting something, you know? That's kind of a bad thing if you're doing that. So it's a little different, and sometimes it can be like a little rattly and things like that. So just be forewarned, you know, it's a different experience. It's cool though, you can just like open your door, your balcony, and you're like looking at a wall.
Don't touch the wall.
Don't touch it. But yeah, that woke me up like maybe once, I think.
Then you got used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was an interesting one. This is just sort of a story that we had heard. Sometimes, you know, you'll have multiple ships on the same river, and all of their ships, other than maybe one or two, are identical.
Right.
Sometimes the water level in the rivers or canals is too low for the ships to continue, and what they will do, which is interesting, is if you have a ship that's here and a ship that's here, my face is the low water level. They can't cross. They will take all of the passengers, and I believe the cruise manager and maybe a handful of people off, and they will swap the passengers from one ship to the other. You get to keep the same cabin number, everything. The ship looks the same. You wouldn't even know you were on a different ship, but they swap out everybody.
I guess they just dock and you walk from one ship to the other.
Or they bus you, yeah.
Or bus, yeah. We've heard that's happened a few times with people. It's very interesting and cool that they can make that accommodation so you don't miss part of your cruise.
I don't know why I thought that was cool, but I wanted to put that in here. I never thought about just being like, hey guys, we're just taking everybody from the ship, your cruise director, maybe a handful of people, and we're just changing ships. And so that way, you know, you would, and then they turn the ships around and you continue on in the way that you were originally going because you've moved to the other side.
And you get your same cabin number and everything because they're identical.
Anyway, smoking. There is one approved smoking section, which is the aft of the sun deck. And I just wanted to point that out because that's...
People might want to know.
Exactly right. Y'all, let's get into it. Cost comparison. How much did this cruise cost? What can I compare it to? I pulled up the same itinerary that we did, which was the best of Holland and Belgium, I think it was. I always say the Netherlands, but they say Holland.
You're right.
For the same week of 2024, mid-November. It's listed as $3,699 per person. They're actually having a sale right now. It's $2,960 per person.
Just through December 31st.
Of 2023, we should say.
Right, yeah, that's when the sale ends.
Yeah. So in about another week after we release this video, it's $224 per person for port fees and taxes. So the total cost right now for two guests is $6,366.40.
Yeah, no, that's correct.
Okay, make sure I said that correctly. It is a little bit difficult to find the pricing on their website, people have said. If you go to the itinerary that you want and you click on the correct year, there's a thing at the top that says dates and prices. You'll see all these buttons that say request a quote. That's just going to put you in contact with a sales rep at AMA. If you hit dates and prices, you can see the prices without having to actually engage with another person, which I like.
Yeah.
Or just phone your friendly travel agent. Are you a travel agent?
I am. This is not an ad or anything, but if you would like to know more, somebody who's done it firsthand, I'd be happy to help you.
That's true. And they will be glad to guide you through the process. Now, I decided it would be fun to pull up the next ship that we're getting ready to sail, which is Icon of the Seas from Royal Caribbean. Now, I know Icon of the Seas is not comparable to a river cruise in Europe. But just, I thought it was interesting to find a popular new ship right now and go ahead and price it out for the same week. So we're talking November 16th of 2024. The ship will almost be a year old by that point.
Yeah, exactly.
A guarantee ocean view balcony cabin, because most all of the cabins on what we just did are balconies, at least French balconies. Yeah. So two guests in a guarantee ocean view balcony cabin on Royal Caribbean Icon November 16th of 24 is $6,567.28. Yep. So for two people to go on Icon, it's about $200 more than to go on the river cruise.
Doesn't include any of your drinks, your excursions, your Wi-Fi, any of that. Now, granted, you don't have to fly to Europe, but I mean, you do have to get yourself to wherever the ship is. So.
It's an interesting comparison, though, because I kept thinking that these river cruise prices were just insane. But if you pull up a very common new ship, it wasn't that far off.
Because all of the prices on mainstream cruises right now are up. So They're pretty similar.
Since we're talking about money, I'm finally to the what's included section. So when you book the AmaWaterways cruise, you get all of your excursions, usually 2 a day. So you're looking at doing 10, 12, 14 excursions over the course of your cruise. Wi-Fi.
Which is good. It's good Wi-Fi. We were able to upload videos and everything on it.
Oh, that's true. All of your food, including the chef's table experience.
Yep.
Some alcohol and soda. Now, this is where that sentence I printed on the wrong page comes in handy. I'll read that in a second. And your fitness classes, which there were like a couple in the morning.
They had them every day. We just never attended them because we were walking all day long.
I was tired. Good. So the sentence I pulled, which is, it's when can you get free alcohol? That's the sentence I pulled. It's sparkling wine and juices at breakfast. So you can like make yourself a mimosa.
Yeah.
Beer, soft drinks, and wine with lunch and dinner. The cocktail hour includes wine, beer, and spirits. And they had a cute little menu.
Yep.
Coffee, tea, and bottled water 24 hours a day. So basically, anytime you're eating, you can get some beverages of the adult variety, and then at the cocktail hour, they're completely free if you order from the menu, and there was a good amount on that menu.
From 6 to 7, and they don't skimp. They check on you multiple times during that hour, and sometimes they'll just bring a bottle and refill it right while you're sitting there, so
that's true.
It's great.
What's not included? Okay, gratuities. This is where we'll get into the amounts. So the recommended gratuities, which is what we went by, for a 7-night cruise, $100 per person for the cruise manager, so that covers that 7 days. $25 per person for the ship's crew. That's going to be your dining room staff, your housekeepers, things like that. Yep. And then tour guides, they recommended, this is not, I shouldn't say dollars. This is euros. Guys, I'm saying the wrong words.
Yeah, euros.
So 100 euros per person, 25 euros per person. And then for the tour guides, it was 2 euros per person for the driver and maybe 2 euros per person for the tour guide based on service. So,
which is not bad, you know.
No, so you're thinking maybe 8 or 10 euros per tour just as gratuities of appreciation for your guides.
Right.
And that seemed like a good recommendation, so we tended to stick with that.
Yeah, it's to your discretion. You can always go above that. I wouldn't go below, though.
So speaking of euros, getting local currency, we, for this trip, ordered the currency from our bank.
Yep.
Because they had a pretty good exchange rates on that. When we did our British Isles cruise, we actually just used local ATMs. Like, I remember in London, I went to an ATM to draw out pounds. And then in Scotland, I drew out some more pounds, and it wasn't really a bad exchange rate there either.
You can also do it at the airport when you fly in. Sometimes it's a little bit higher at the airports, though.
Yeah, I feel like local ATMs were about the best rate that we've ever done, and then like second to that would probably be our bank.
If you can get it in advance, I would do that, though.
Yeah, but most purchases, we just use credit cards. If it was a big, brick and mortar building, restaurant, that kind of a thing, credit cards were fine. We have a nice travel credit card, and it served us well.
And you could do your tips on a credit card as well. I think we did.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, we did do that. But they do, ask, if you could do euros as well. So.
Yeah, we did run that through the card.
We did.
You're right.
Yeah.
And of course, other things that are not included in these prices are things like airfare, hotels, transfers, and insurance. All of that can be added through AMA, but I guess I should say that is not included in these numbers either. Now let's move along before we get into the would we do another river cruise, which was a very popular question. So here's some things from the Facebook group that I thought were interesting, and they didn't fit anywhere else. With this trip, you're very close to the river. Did you experience any not so pleasant odors from the water?
Not that I recall.
I did not either.
I think they were painting one day near our room, and paint fumes was probably the worst thing, but that could probably change depending on what river you're in, because they go all over the world, so.
That's true.
We did not, though.
No, I mean, we were in canals mostly, which,
canals.
I mean, you might think canals, would they be stankier than rivers? I really don't know.
No, the canal water's clean, remember?
Okay, so maybe the rivers might be different, but no odors from me. From me. Hey. Did the package include air transportation? No, that was
ours did not.
Right, we did not. We booked on our own. Any advice on being a larger person and flying a long distance? Now, we've already committed to the fact that, at least for my comfort, if we're flying more than about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 hours, we are looking at business class. We have credit cards where we can earn points for miles. We try to really not have to pay that out of pocket, but yeah, it's business class, and that's just a thing.
We're both really tall, too, so.
That's true. Could you talk about how many days you recommend to go in advance due to time change in jet lag? Now, fun fact, we gave ourselves 1 full day in Amsterdam before going on the cruise. We flew overnight and landed in the morning, checked into our hotel, did the thing you're not supposed to do, slept all day.
No lunch, no dinner. It was the first time flying to Europe, to be fair. Normally we cruise over. jet lag was a thing.
Yeah, it was. So, yeah, we basically lost an entire day. So I would say maybe give yourself at least a couple of days to get used to it, because you don't want to get on the boat, the river cruise, and be tired.
Because you're going to be busy.
Unfortunate. So I'm going to say maybe try to give yourself 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Next up we have, was any of the programming on the TV closed captioned for the deaf? We didn't watch the TV.
Never.
It was the Apple computer, really, is what was in there. So I cannot confirm. I really don't know. I would guess that it was.
I would say it probably was, but honestly, if we didn't know for sure, I don't want to say that it is.
No, I know, because it would just be a probably at this point. Yeah, when we were in the cabin, which was not very often, we were probably sleeping.
Or showering.
Or I was editing a video or something. So yeah, I can't confirm that one. Maybe if anybody in the comments happens to know.
True.
Can you talk to us about the best times for river cruises considering crowds in ports and weather? Now, obviously, this kind of works the same way as, you know, the good old Caribbean cruises or Alaska cruises. There are peak times for everything. The itinerary that we did, I guess, tulip time would be a peak.
Or Christmas market, because they have them there too.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Or like if you're doing the Danube too, especially for Christmas market.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're cruising at a peak time, you're going to find the crowds, I would imagine.
And the prices are going to be higher.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, you can look at the little price guide on their website. The higher the number, the more people you're probably going to run into.
Correct.
We went during the rainy season, which we didn't really do a lot of research about it. Actually,
well, that was when the cruise was off.
Yeah, that's
there
what
was no choice.
The next question is getting into that.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and go into that one. But yeah, if we had had free reign of the calendar, we might have picked a time of year that was a little bit less rainy, but we probably still would not have gone at a peak time like tulip time.
I prefer like less crowds. I'll take rain over like not being able to walk through to something I want to see, you know?
But that kind of flows into this one, which is, could you talk about cruising with another creator? Because we were on with EECC Travels, Jason and Elisa. Did you all plan to go together? Yeah, because this was a bit of a reward cruise for you. Yeah,
so Elisa and I work for are part of the same host agency, and it was the Diamond Voyage for people who have high enough sales to get invited to this. And yeah, we knew that they were going, and it was super fun. And it was like 25 travel agents in my company, and like their spouses or significant other or friend. So like half of the ship, I guess, was our company. Yeah, so we did plan to cruise together. And cruising with another creator, good gosh, this has to be at least our fourth or fifth cruise with Jason and Elisa specifically. We've known them since 2017, and we've cruised together quite a bit, I think. We're very good friends, yeah.
Yeah. And then somebody said, I'm curious as to the fellow passengers and what they're like. You may not be able to answer since yours was a group work cruise. Not really a group work cruise, but I guess kind of. Yeah. No, we talked to a lot of people who had done many AmaWaterways cruise before. For a lot of people, it was like a loyalty cruise that they offered at a discounted rate, I think, because there was a group on it probably, and it was rainy season. But everybody was nice. Then we met people, it was their first cruise ever, and they seemed to really enjoy it as well. So it was fun, not just hanging out with people from the company, just sitting with anybody and like getting to know them personally. I think, you know, you can make friends easily on a river cruise. Yeah, because I think about half the time at dinner we were just sitting with folks that, you know, we would just join up to and talk to, and then half the time we probably sat with like some of the group people. Right,
exactly.
Now we get into the sort of, would we do another river cruise? Let's just go ahead and do that one. So would we do another river cruise?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it. We don't have one booked right now.
We don't, but yeah, absolutely. It was such a nice experience. So different from like ocean cruising. Just, I would say relaxed, but not really.
It was intense. I was not expecting how intense that was going to be. Like I kept thinking it was going to be this fancy, relaxed, almost, you know, uncomfortably dressed because I'm like so fancy in Europe. It was nothing of that.
No, and I loved every minute of it.
Now, it could be relaxed. I could have skipped the excursions, but good gosh, I'm there to see stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we like getting out and seeing as much as you can cram into your time that's allotted.
Yeah, and we crammed, y'all. We crammed.
Yeah.
Now, there were a few questions that I don't know that we can get into now. Well, people said, would you look into doing a possible vehicle rental and land time in conjunction with a cruise like this? Me, personally, I don't know if I would do a lot of driving around Europe. I might do a train trip or something like that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I mean, I've driven around Iceland. I didn't drive around any of the British Isles or anything like that. So I'm sure I could get myself around, but especially for me, not being able to read signs and things in a non-English sign, you know. I don't know. That particular area, I don't know how well I would do.
Yeah, so. The signs are Yeah, very long names that I wouldn't know if I was turning the right way.
Yeah, I mean, Iceland English was not the primary language on the signs,
we figured it out.
Okay, but
Ways is good.
Some of the other ones are, can you compare river cruise lines? I mean, this was our first one, so that would just be if you had any travel agent insight to river cruise lines.
I mean, I've done training on a few of them. They all seem fairly similar, but from what I've heard from other passengers who've done, like, say, Viking and Ama, they're very similar in the fact that, like, they both offer the excursions and the drinks and things like that. I've heard that Viking offers slightly different excursions that maybe have a few more options, but Ama is a little more budget from Viking, and the food is pretty comparable on both from what I've heard.
And then there's Avalon, there's like Riviera.
There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
We would love to explore more. So.
And somebody wanted to know if we can compare ocean cruising versus river cruising. That's one where I can't even begin to dip a toe. I mean, other than the fact that it takes you somewhere new every day. Yeah, it's so different.
They're so different.
Size of ships, experience, completely different.
Yeah.
So hopefully we portrayed the river cruise well, and you can see just from our experiences.
Yeah.
And then lastly, somebody said, could you also mention where you stayed in Amsterdam? And funnily enough, I did record a room tour and a little footage of our breakfast. So let's put some of that in while we talk about it. We actually ended up staying at the Moxie Amsterdam Schiphol Airport.
Yeah.
Marriott property, because you do get deals at Marriott properties for us. They did have a pay breakfast option, which I'm sure is coming up in this footage somewhere, but really nice property overall.
Yeah, when we got there, transportation from the airport to the hotel is included, and they were there waiting for us, took us over, and they got us a room immediately. I think we landed at like 9 a.m. or something.
And we were tired.
And they're like, yeah, go to your room. They didn't even care. You didn't have to wait for check-in. That may not always be the case.
No.
Super lovely though, and they offer transportation back to the airport if you were just to stay there, for instance.
Yeah, but nice property. I mean, we've never stayed anywhere else in Amsterdam, so it's our #1 right now.
It's not close to the city, like the downtown area, but it was good for what we needed. Yeah.
True. And that is all the questions I've got on the list. So if you ask anything else in the group that maybe we didn't touch on, put it down in the comments here. We'll try to type some answers back. Hopefully we covered all the major categories.
I hope so.
Yeah, but we totally would do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, when can we go?
Soon.
All right. Y'all, thanks for hanging out for this chatty video. More fun coming up soon. I think we're getting ready to start our Norwegian Viva series next, which was our transatlantic from Lisbon to Miami. So stay tuned for that. If you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Become a Paromaniac today. Socialize all our media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yep, and until next time.
Rock on.
Go on a river cruise.
Woo!